Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and for this page and the next page, I'm documenting when me and my mom took Bennett and Avery to the Atlanta Safari. So I really wanted to go with this green and this pink. I really like these two colors together, and I just felt like it read very like kid-ish, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a huge chunk of the pink with the scalloped branding strip still attached as my big layer, and then I'm just gutting a chunk of this green since so much of it is going to be covered, but I really wanted you to be able to see the green stars on the bottom as well as that scallopy detail. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stuck together. I have 3 4x4s, but I'm going to overlap them a little bit so when they're in kind of a photo strip, they don't take up the full 12 inches of the page. That way I can get a couple mats on it. But that's pretty much what's going on. I thought I was going to stick to this pink and green color scheme. But as I decide that I want to mat the photos and that kind of thing, I looked at what scraps I had and I ended up pulling in the navy. So for this page and the next page, I'll try to stick to the green, pink, navy color scheme, which I think is nice because the first couple pages I did were more on the red and pink and orange side with some yellow. So I'm kind of digging into the other colors in this kit. Here you can just see me gluing all 3 of those photos together. So these are all taken from when we were driving through the safari and feeding the animals. So I just wanted a good selection of some of the fun animals that we got to feed. So you can see the zebra on the bottom, bison in the middle, and the sweet giraffes. Usually when I go to the safari, it's later in the day and it's really hot and the giraffes have already eaten their fill and have gone to rest. So this is the first time I actually got to feed them, which was really exciting. And they're so gentle. Like for as big as they are, they have like the softest little lips and they're so careful when they take the food. I just think it's so sweet. But now that I have those photos together, I'm going to mat them all in white and then mat them again on this navy. I think I got this navy too just because it's Felicity Jane. I'm trying to get what I can out of it this month. But I actually really like the introduction of the navy because it gives me some more leeway when it comes to embellishment versus just having to stick to the pink and the green, which is what I was initially going to end up having to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get this glued down. I really like how it was placed before, just more towards the left side of the page. That kind of gives me some room to do some layers and embellishment off to the right and kind of the open area of the pink. I will say, you guys know I love Felicity Jane, but the past couple months where I've been working with these more vintagey, super layery collections, it's kind of weird switching back to Felicity Jane, which I feel like is more on that minimal feel. So I struggled a little bit through this month with feeling like my pages were too plain, but I think it's just because I was so layery the first couple of months of the year. So I'm still having fun playing with it, but I'm noticing I'm having to work around that feeling. But I did also notice through the first part of this month that I really hadn't used many of the pocket cards, so I wanted to get several of them used up on this page. So I'm pulling in all the pink, green, and navy just to see which ones I think look nice together. I like the idea of using this green star since that background paper is the green star paper. But I end up switching some things around. But I do like that pop of navy with the diagonal just to pull from that photo mat a little bit. And now as I start to realize kind of how I want to embellish and the different embellishments I have to use, I kind of feel like the star is taking up a lot of space, but also kind of making it difficult to layer embellishment. So I'll kind of reconvene. I also really wanted to use these florals, but I just felt like the colors in the florals were off of my color scheme, and I really wanted to stick to this, green, pink, and navy. So I play around with these florals. They just look too distracting to me, and they're the only thing that has that kind of reddish color. I do really like this pink chipboard that says my story, and there's another pink chipboard that's an arrow that says this, so I thought it would be really cute to have that arrow up by the giraffe, maybe have a mini cluster up there, and then use a little my story down here in this bigger cluster. So I like that. but I kind of get stuck on how I want to do these layers, because right now it looks very clear that I just stuck a couple pocket cards over there, and I don't really like that. So I take a break for a second to figure out my title. I have these navy foam alphabets that my mom gave me. I don't think I'd used them yet, maybe once. I honestly forget that I have navy because I always lean so much towards the white and black, but I really wanted navy for this page, so I was really happy I found them. And I'm just going to title it Safari. You guys probably saw a couple of these pages when I was documenting it for Avery's baby book. But because this is for my book, I'm using different photos, and I'm including, pictures with Bennett because the other pages were more Avery based. So I just found this little green gingham, and I thought that would be cute to pull in the green instead of this big star pocket card. But I still wanted to use the green star motif since it kind of mirrored the background. So instead, I decided to fussy cut the star, leaving a decent border of the green. And then that way, I kind of get more layers. And by switching it out with that pink pocket card that has the journaling, it gives me an area to write. So I really like this little switch up. And now that I have a little My Story over the star, I think that looks really nice. And now I'm taking the scraps from that star pocket card, and I'm using it to mat the green gingham. So I like this. I think it takes away from the fact that they're all pocket cards by changing up the proportion a little bit and by doing these mats with the scraps. So I like how that's looking for that little corner. And I like that I have a spot to journal because I definitely wanted to say something about this. So now that I'm liking how it's laid out, I'm going to go ahead and try to stick all of these pocket cards together. And I'm really pleased with myself because I got 4 pocket cards used up just in that little area, which makes me feel a little better because I still have a lot of pocket cards to go through. But at least I feel like I put a dent in it, which is nice. So just getting all those layers down, trying to space out that green mat so it looks like it's one piece. And then I wanted to gut the solid pink from behind these photos before I glued everything down. So I just decided to mark where that photo kind of covers up so I know how much I can gut. But I just wanted to salvage some of the solid. I feel like I always run out of the solid when I use Felicity Jane. So I'm trying to save these pieces for future layouts because it's still too early in the month to not gut. But now that I have that down, I'm going to go ahead and back all of this in my cheap black filler paper just to fill in the gaps and help with stability. And I'm just going to use my Nuvo glue to quickly get that glued down. And then I can start actually embellishing. I mean, the main portion of this was that pocket card cluster, but I definitely want to use some more of those word stickers. And then there's still some other die cuts and chipboard that are in the color scheme that I kind of want to figure out a place for. So now that that's glued down, I'm going to get all of this secure. And then I can't remember what part I do next, so I'm just going to have to wait and see. But I love that little this arrow at the top. That's really cute. And the giraffes are definitely my favorite part, so I like that the arrow is kind of emphasizing that cluster. I do pop this star up on some foam, and so I'm just doing that quickly, and then I will have the chipboard overlapping that, so I will also put foam behind the chipboard on the part that overlaps so it all lays flat. I really like that. There's not a whole lot of dimension yet on this page, so I really like having that that pop with the foam. So I'm just going to put all this kind of back where I had it. I really liked where it was placed, so I'm just trying to get it back to where it was. And then we will move on. I am noticing that that top corner is very blank and open with the solid pink. So what I decide to do is take a couple of the other embellishments that are in the color scheme to just do a little mini cluster in the upper right hand corner. I don't think it was necessary, but I really like what it added. It helped to break up having so much of that solid pink just open. But before I get there, I want to figure out this other cluster. So I'm playing around with some of the other things in the color scheme. It just wasn't really working. I have this blue heart I was really wanting to use. But I'm not really liking any of it. The only thing I really like is this chipboard arrow, so I'm for sure just going to go ahead and stick that down. I think I kind of get unstuck when I finally get to the word stickers, but I don't know. Yeah, here I go. So I really wanted to use a bunch of the navy ones. A bunch of these stickers are like the day of the week, and I don't even really remember what day we went on. It could have been a Thursday. It could have been over the weekend. Probably was a Thursday because me and my mom both have that day off. But I just decided to go with the other ones that weren't days of the week. So I have happy and a row of hearts up by the arrow that says this. And then in my other cluster, I decided to do currently, right now, hello, just for that pop of navy. And I think it really plays well off of the title that I also got stuck down. So I really like that. There were also, there were brads that came with the frames, the book plates that came in this collection. And I've used a couple of the book plates, but I did not use the brads with them. I decided to use the brads separately as their own embellishment. So I decided to get a couple of them on this page. So I'm just adding 2 of those white brads to each of the clusters. Again, just for a different texture, different dimension. I really like what those add. So I'm going to get those down. And at this point, I'm really getting stuck because I feel like I feel done, but it doesn't look done. And so that's where I go back and I add this third cluster up here, hoping that that would kind of finish it out. So I'm just going to layer a couple of the green, navy, and pink elements. I'm going back to the word stickers and adding a pink adventure word sticker on that little navy chipboard. So I really like that little layered detail up there. There's a little pink chipboard heart that I add. So I like that there's a little chipboard pink something in all 3 of these clusters. But even once I get this down, I'm just like, it still looks too plain. Like I feel like it just needs something and I don't know what. But it's not anything that's laying on my desk right now. By the way, I have my new phone. This is my first video filming with my new phone. So the colors are a little different, but I'm not mad about it. But it is like zoomed way out. Do you guys like seeing this much of the chaos on my desk? Or would you prefer it zoomed in closer to just the page? Because usually you don't see this much of my messy desk. But some people like seeing everything that is around me that I have to work with. So I don't know. I feel like it's a little too zoomed out for my taste. But you guys can let me know because I can definitely lower my tripod to kind of zoom more in on the page itself. So this is what I decided to do. I want to do some hand stitching and I was determined to hand stitch the shape of a giraffe. So at first I kind of traced on some plastic around the giraffe in my actual photo, thinking I would stitch the outline of the giraffe head. But once I took the outline off of the photo, it just looked ridiculous. So I'm using this Amy Tangerine paper of the giraffes as inspiration to guide my sketch of the giraffe. So I'm just kind of using it as a reference and sketching on a scrap piece of black paper with a pencil the giraffe, and I'm going to use that as my guide to stitch. This could have gone horribly wrong, but at this point I was like, you know what, this month and last month I feel like I haven't been scrapping as much as normal. There's just been a lot going on, and like the pages I do I want to push it a little. I want to do something different. So I tried to be brave. I think it paid off. It's not the prettiest giraffe in the world, but my goal was that you could tell it was a giraffe. So I'm using my little stencil. I kind of stuck it down with some washi so it wouldn't shift, and now I'm going around with my piercing tool and poking lots of little holes around the outline of the giraffe, which I will then go back and stitch. And because this is so small and there's so much detail I want to make sure to get in, the stitches are really close together, which took forever to stitch. But I'm pleased with the results. And since I was stitching on that side, I did just decide to do a simple row of stitches on the opposite side, just so there's stitching on both sides of the page. But I think that was like the perfect finishing touch. I often will stitch when it comes to Felicity Jane if I'm thinking it's looking a little plain, and it always seems to be like the perfect final thing. So I won't make you sit through all of this stitching. I'll skip to the end in a little bit. but I just wanted you to see how I ended up doing this, because I had to go through a couple trial and errors to find the giraffe that I wanted. I wish those Amy Tan giraffes were just bigger, so I could have just used that as my stencil, but they were too teeny tiny, so I had to redraw it bigger. So I'm going to start here, skipping a minute, and all the stitching will be magically done. So there's that row of stitching, and then I'll start on the giraffe. The giraffe took me forever, but I was so proud. And even on the horns, I did the little mini flower knot trick to make the round part on the top of the giraffe horns. I don't know. I was very pleased with myself when I got this done, but it took forever to do this giraffe. So I'll skip in a minute to when it's all done. I did my journaling. It just says Mom and I took Bennett and Avery to the Atlanta Safari, and we had a blast with the date. And now my stitching is done. And now you get to see the close-ups. I love how it turned out. I'm just so pleased with it. So the companion page to this one will be on Saturday. But here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.